Hello everybody, my name is Ryan, and today I would like to talk to you guys about the wonderful world of food, cooking, and how it's part of what shaped us into the humans of today. Also, I'd like to get into why you should begin cooking for your own instead of buying processed foods and all that junk. So let's get down to it. Food, one of the basic things that you need in order to survive. All living things need a sort of food source. However, humanity has basically evolved into a species that use fire to cook food. No other animal has been known to do so, and it's reason to believe why it's made us as a species so unique. And of course, over time, humans have evolved many different cultures of cooking their own food. When you think of certain nations, you might think of their cuisines. If you think Italian, you might think, oh, spaghetti and meatballs and pizza. I was born into an immigrant Filipino family of cooks. The Filipino people are well known for their really delectable dishes, such as lumpia, roasted pig, pancit, and adobo. Of course, living in America, we've also succumbed to the delicacies of a good backyard barbecue. You know, hamburgers, pizza, mac and cheese, all that comfort food. With me being born in America, I developed a wide range of tastes for different sorts of food in general. Of course, I was a picky eater back then, so it took me a good while until I was able to fully appreciate most foods. With that being said, I eventually took a large interest in cooking and experimenting in the kitchen. We probably all had that feeling before where our parents have cooked us a meal and it basically made us feel a lot better about our days. Maybe you had a bad day in school and you come home to a nice mac and cheese meal or a good steak and some mashed potatoes. You just feel a lot better about yourself. And you remember fondly those memories of your mother or your father or whoever's cooking. I wanted to be able to provoke that same feeling for friends and maybe one day my own family, because you can feel that sort of love and passion that cooks like my mother and father put into their foods. So basically, one of the reasons I took curiosity in food and cooking was because it just makes us feel good. Another reason, as I grew older, I've been exposed to many food shows and series themed about food. My mom would love to watch competitive cooking shows such as Chopped or The Great British Baking Show or Hell's Kitchen, and nowadays I would like to watch YouTube videos online such as Binging with Babish and Laura in the Kitchen. Despite all the romanticizations done in these shows, you can still see the passion that these cooks and chefs and bakers and whatnot put into their food. And I get that same sort of feeling whenever I also cook as well. Also, cooking in general is just a great way to enhance your exposure to different cultures. With having Filipino pride in me, I've wanted to learn how to cook my favorite meals from my mom and dad, and I've seen so many interesting foods online that I've always wanted to try of different origins, such as Russian food and other kinds of Asian foods as well. It wasn't until recently that I started developing a liking towards sushi, so I wanted to one day eventually learn how to make sushi. So simple curiosity just ended up boosting me into why I wanted to cook for myself. So when I started cooking, I basically started my first experience in my junior year of high school. I was doing a project in my English class that involved doing a research paper and creating a presentation. I decided to dive into the more scientific approach on food and taste, more specifically the taste of umami, or the savory taste. And at the same time, I was really invested in a video game series called Metal Gear, which is known for its action-oriented and stealthy military gameplay. It also had its comedic moments as well, and one of these scenes involved two members of an organization talking about hamburgers and how one of them wanted to start their own food chain, basically parodying McDonald's. So the game served as a catalyst for me discovering my skills in cooking. Another set of inspiration that I think really sparked a light into my interest in food and cooking were shows and series I watched on YouTube. One of the shows I mentioned earlier, Binging with Babish, it's a YouTube series that tries to recreate food seen in video games, movies, and TV shows. And it's one of the biggest influences in my whole cooking career. Not only did it reach out to me for my love of video games, but it actually got me into the kitchen and sparked my curiosity. So let's get back into my high school setting. I used the Metal Gear games and that certain burger scene as my starting point for cooking for myself. And let me tell you, it took a lot of research, trial and error to make this sort of perfect burger. Because keep in mind, I was still an amateur cook back then, and if you're a bit of an airhead like me, you will have a lot of errors in the process. In the end, everything was fine, and I ended up making a really mean looking burger. And this is all purely just its original form. Just your good old classic lettuce, tomato, onions, pickles, all that jazz. While the experience wasn't necessarily the best, I felt a sort of pride after cooking that burger for everybody in the classroom. It's at that point where I decided to start my adventures in cooking in the kitchen and experimenting. When college started, I basically had to begin cooking for myself. Usually I would rely on my father cooking dinner as I was busy studying and doing homework. I needed to save money, and if you take a good look at me, you can see that I'm a dude who just enjoys eating. Absolutely love it. So I thought to myself, if I'm going to save money, I might as well eat healthier while I'm at it. I ate out a lot less, I learned how to shop smarter, and discovered all the crap that they put into these processed foods that they give us at the store, like potato chips and whatnot. And I learned how to buy my own produce. Now, I never threw away all the processed junk out of my life because it's just my addictive nature. But I did buy a lot more produce than before. Fruits, vegetables, raw meat, and not the kind of processed meat that you can just stuff into a microwave and it's ready to go. No, I was getting serious. And now we hit this year, my second year of college, specifically my second term as well. This is probably the highest peak of my cooking career that I've hit so far. I've learned a lot about cooking thanks to the previously mentioned shows and inspirations that I've mentioned, and my humanities class themed around food, which is funny because this video is also a project that I'm submitting for a class, but I digress. Like I said before, this year was the time I grew smarter about my dietary choices and my consumer way of life. I feel that in these past 2 years, I've gained a lot more knowledge about the fascinating world of food and cooking. Me being the impatient person that I am, I learned the hard way that you shouldn't always start cooking things on the high setting. You have to learn to simmer and let things cook slow. Otherwise, you might get a really nasty, brown looking homemade Alfredo sauce, which was a really harsh lesson that I had to learn. Back to the topic of my humanities food class, it allowed me to learn a lot about food and how it's more than just a necessity to survive. I learned a lot about how our adaptation into cooking really shaped us into human beings we are today, and how it makes us unique as a species. Like I said, food can be used to really bring people together, and it showed me the ethics of how we treat our food and what we eat nowadays. It allowed me to have more insight on why most vegans go vegan in the first place. Learning more about food and where our food comes from is really important to know. Not only is it cost effective to cook for yourself more instead of going out to eat, it's also a lot healthier for you. The experiences that I've learned from the past few years have really taught me valuable lessons in life about love, what it means to be human, and how cooking food for your teachers can be used as a really great bribe for your A's. So that's going to be it for me, friends. I hope you begin your journey into the world of cooking yourselves one day. It's a really great way to just better your quality of life in general. Saving money and eating healthier and all that jazz, you know? Plus, you can probably impress your friends and make new ones along the way. Who knows? Anyway, internet, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you enjoyed this nice little experimental vlog, documentary sort of thing. My name is Ryan, and I hope you have a fantastic day.